Right, there it is. Hello, gods and goddesses. Um, there I am. So today I'm going to be talking about mindfulness meditation, immunity, and I'm going to be teaching you a few tricks that are going to really quickly bring you into a trance state. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Xander Thamakis. I am a shaman, a mystery school trained healer and initiate, a master herbalist, and a master hypnotist. And really what prompted this video in the first place, well, other than wanting to contribute to helping with people healing from the coronavirus, is I was reading this book called The Enlightened Vagabond. And he is this very ascended Buddhist practitioner who's no longer with us, he's this really profound guy if you ever want to read anything about any of the stories that he talks about. But what really struck me more than anything else when I was reading this book is he talks about the importance of not only mindfulness meditation, but the idea that mindfulness meditation is supposed to, besides just immediately relieving any stress that you might be experiencing, the longer that you do it, the more you are able to observe your own thought streams in such a way where when you see a negative thought or when a negative thought comes up, you're then able to let that thought go and not let it damage you or anybody else. Negative thought with a negative emotion, anger, lust, greed, anything like that. And it just really struck me because he makes this point that it would be far more important to catch yourself the minute that negative thought comes into your head and just let it go without it causing any damage or any undue problems to yourself. Just let it go. Then 20 minutes, an hour, a week of just mindfulness meditation. Basically, the mindfulness meditation is supposed to teach you to get control of your thought stream so that you're not having those negative thoughts causing damage. And the practice of that would then be catching that negative thought stream. Mindfulness meditation is how you learn how to do it. The actual practice of it would be, oh, I'm having a negative thought, but before I let that do any damage, I'm just going to let it go. So for those of you who aren't super familiar with mindfulness meditation, the premise of mindfulness meditation is where, simplest way to put it is you just sit in place and you sit. And you might focus on your breath, you might not, but you're sitting and you're trying to get to a point where you can sit for 20 minutes or an hour without any thoughts or anything coming in and messing up your state of peace. Now, that being said, as you attempt this, you're going to have any thoughts that you haven't worked through, any emotions you haven't processed. When you start mindfulness meditating, all that stuff's going to come up until you process it. And the premise of mindfulness meditation is when that negative stuff comes up, you're supposed to be an unbiased observer who observes that stuff coming up. Oh, that awful childhood memory that makes me feel awful and angry. You're supposed to observe it and genuinely just let it go so that it's no longer affecting you. This is something that can take weeks, months, years to get to a point where you don't actually have any monkey chatter or anything gnarly coming up that's going to affect your state of peace. But as I stated before, and as what really struck me from the Enlightened Vagabond, which I was talking about earlier, is that you can mindfulness meditate all day long, but you need to make sure that you're putting the benefit of that into practice. And that being when a negative thought comes up, you need to be aware of it and just let it go. All right. Other thing I want to get into before we get rolling, I highly suggest when you're meditating, you want to be in a place where you've got good energy around you, or at the very least, you're not being polluted by the various toxic waves produced by electronic devices that we constantly surround ourselves with. So first of all, I would definitely suggest getting an Orgonite pyramid. Personally, I always meditate with one of these. I try and fill my home and room with them so that I'm kind of constantly protected from that sort of thing. But they do more than that. I mean, a good piece of Orgonite transmutes negative energy into positive energy. So if there's negative people, or if you're in a negative space, or if someone's projected some negative energy into something that you're being exposed to, whatever the case may be, this will transmute that into positive energy. As a shaman, I do a lot of house clearings, work with entities, exorcisms, that sort of thing. And these things are cool. I mean, in some instances, like, I mean, you can burn some sage and clear a room and raise the frequency. Easy peasy, right? But you have to do it constantly, consistently. Whereas you can get a few of these, and you can get bigger ones, but the big ones are super expensive. So personally, I just like to buy a little one anytime I have a little bit of extra money, and now I've got a bunch of little ones. Um, but the benefit of that being is that I don't have to clear my space anymore, or at least not nearly as frequently. I can just leave these all over the place, and they continually function like a filter that never gets dirty, that just cleanses the energy in whatever space you put them in. So Orgonite pyramids, super cool. If you're not familiar, I would definitely suggest, I think it's www.orgon.com. And that's, if I'm saying that correctly, I believe is the best source of information from Dr. Wilhelm Reich. He was the inventor of the Orgon accumulator, as well as a bunch of other really neat shit. So I would definitely suggest looking into that if that's something that you find interesting. Yeah, and then, all right, gods and goddesses, if I can get y'all to get comfortable, I'm going to walk you through some breath work. And the neat thing about doing some breath work is it will put you into a trance. You don't need to practice for weeks and weeks and weeks, weeks and weeks and weeks in order to do this. You can just do the breath work, you do it for a couple minutes, put you into a trance state. Benefit of just going into a trance state is that will cancel out your stress response. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of your sympathetic nervous system, which is your stress response. That's the ultimate state for healing, and at the very least, it's going to cancel out your stress. Benefit of that for your immunity is that's going to make your immune system function at 100%, because anytime you're in a state of stress, anxiety, fear, whatever you want to call it, your immune system is not functioning. So first and foremost, for us first worlders dealing with this pandemic, we need to get our stress under control if we want to keep our immunity up and stop things like this from spreading. So I would suggest doing breath work daily. I would also suggest using it as a tool in your arsenal. If if something stresses you out, this is something you can do. It takes a couple minutes. It'll knock out your stress response. Once you get a handle on this and mindfulness meditation, you can get into some cooler meditations. There's some really neat, profound stuff you can do with all of the other meditations that exist out there. So this is a really cool starting point for a whole adventure. Exists in the mind and spirit for all you psychonauts out there. Anyway, so go ahead and get comfortable. Whatever you need to do to relax and just sit. I'd like you to begin by taking deep breaths in through your nose. Holding it for whatever's comfortable. And then letting it out through your mouth. Deep breath in through the nose. Letting it out through the mouth. I want you to do this until you find your natural breathing rhythm with the deepest breaths you can make in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when you find your natural rhythm with this, I'd like you to begin keeping track of vaguely how long your in-breath is. So if you're taking a big, deep, comfortable breath and it's lasting about 10 seconds, I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to hold it, and then try and match your exhale to that same length of your inhale. So again, if it's about 10 seconds, you're gonna wanna make your exhale about 10 seconds, but however long your deep, comfortable inhale is, I want you to match that in your exhale length. So deep breaths in through the nose, holding it for whatever's comfortable, and then out through the mouth, trying to match your exhale length to the length of your comfortable inhale. Very good. Deep breath in through the nose. Holding it for whatever's comfortable, holding it, and then out through the mouth, matching your exhale length to your inhale length. Keeping it comfortable, not too exact, roughly the same. Deep breath in through the nose. Holding, and then out through the mouth. Yeah, I'm already in a pretty decent trance at the moment. If you do this for a couple of minutes, you can get all the way to a delta state. For those of you familiar with the trance states, which is a super deep, like you can't feel pain when someone pinches you state. It's one of the deepest trances you can get to, somnambulism. So this is an easy way for those of you who don't necessarily want to take the time to mindfulness meditate. And this will immediately bring you into a trance, immediately cancel out your stress state. And what's neat about this is if you do this consistently, eventually you'll also start to get the benefits of the mindfulness meditation in that it will make you mindful. The more you can experience trance, the less you will experience stress, the more you will be in the moment, and the more you will be mindful, which is the whole point of mindfulness meditating. It's learning to be mindful so that you can attain the state of mindfulness for the rest of your life, or however long you can maintain it, I suppose, at that point. So other than that, I would definitely suggest, if not Orgonite pyramids or utilizing Orgonite or a nice space, I would definitely suggest meditating in nature any chance you get. That's probably one of the more profound, energizing, healthy things you can do for yourself. And as far as your immunity goes, if you can meditate while grounding in nature, make sure you're getting sunlight, fresh air, all of that in conjunction is going to really improve your health. For those of you familiar with the Kabbalah, the 4 pillars of the tree of life, I wish I had an animation here, I'll have to think back into that later. Each one represents an element. You as a person are balanced based upon how balanced your elements are. So you've got earth, air, water, and fire. Most people are really unbalanced in their earth pillar. The best way to balance out your earth pillar is to go out in nature, and ideally to ground. Grounding meaning you're physically touching the ground, or you're physically touching a tree. Other than that, water has to do with your emotional state. So it's not something else that mindfulness meditation will help balance out and clear. Fire has to do with your passions. That one's a little bit different. You need to do a meditation specifically for your fire, or you need to do whatever ignites your passion to increase your fire. Air has to do with your sense of freedom. So anything that makes you feel not free is something you might want to let go of. Another thing that mindfulness meditation will help you with is just letting go of things that you're not attached to. The more detached you are, the healthier your air pillar is. If you can keep all 4 elements in balance, you will stay healthy. And frankly, mindfulness meditation in nature is probably the best way to hit all 4 pillars. But most of us get most of our elements in check, and we only have an imbalance in one. Excuse me. So something to bear in mind as far as your immunity and your health. I really hope this was helpful for y'all. I hope I had a good explanation of mindfulness meditation going on here. I do intend to do some more advanced meditation videos here soon. So please feel free to check those out. I really hope you guys take advantage of the breathwork technique that I just showed you, because it's super easy, and it'll cancel out your stress response just like that. Stress is the enemy if you're in a belief system where there are such things as enemies. Well, gods and goddesses, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Much love, and stay healthy out there, guys. Love you.